Welcome back, troglodytes, to the Trogly's Guitar Show. Today we have one of my favorite budget model Gibsons, the 2014 Gibson Melody Maker. Now, the Melody Maker has been around a long time, ever since the late 50s, and there's been so many different variations. But this Melody Maker really is only a Melody Maker in its name. And what I mean by that is it has very traditional specs to it. Usually something that looks like this is called a Les Paul Jr. and it's a slab mahogany body. But this one's not. It still has a carved maple top on it. Now granted, it's not as thick as on like a Les Paul Studio or whatnot, but you do still have the maple top and the mahogany back, believe it or not, the rosewood fretboard. So that alone makes the specs of these awesome. The finish on these is a satin nitro finish. It's got that matte feel to it, so it's not sticky and glossy. However, if you don't like that, you can polish these things up really nicely and then they will become a gloss finish. In fact, if you play it enough, you'll start to see that it does turn to a gloss finish. That's happened to the neck on this one. But something else that this model has going for it is the pickups. This is a great way to get into a P90 styled Les Paul for not a lot of money. Now, these aren't actually P90 pickups. They're not stacked P90s either. They are Gibson's P90-S pickup. Now that can get confusing when you're reading text because some people just think somebody's saying P90s instead of P90S. But these differ from regular P90s because instead of bar magnets with adjustable pole screws, you just have slug magnets and you're not able to actually adjust the pole pieces at all. From what I read online, this kind of gives these more of a single coil sound. I mean, a P90 is a single coil anyways, but it kind of makes it sound more like a Strat or a Tele. This guitar, for whatever reason, it inspired me to kind of play some Rolling Stones stuff. It's really spanky. I love this neck pickup. It sounds awesome, it's really fat and creamy, but it still has that single coil sound while being fat. And then the middle position is just like the neck pickup, except for it's kind of got a different tonality to it. I mean, obviously it's a blend between these two, so it should, but it's still fat and sounds good. Now when you get to the bridge, I just don't like the bridge pickup in this one. It's very, very thin sounding. I did not like it at all for cleans. When you distort it, it kind of has its own characteristics that are usable. However, since I love the middle position, I wouldn't necessarily suggest replacing that pickup because then you'd be messing with that. This guitar inspired me to get kind of funky. So I always have a great time with these. Brand new, these were approximately $620 looking at the old Gibson website. It could have been up or down from there. It's not always accurate relying on their website. Imagine that. But they offered them in a yellow satin finish, which is this one. Manhattan Midnight, which is a beautiful dark blue. Wine red, and charcoal. This is the first yellow one I've had. It's very reminiscent of like a TV yellow finish on like a Les Paul special from the 50s. And that's why a lot of people will gravitate towards this finish. It's a budget special to them. The Manhattan Midnight, I have reviewed one of those. And personally, I think that's the nicest finish out of all of these. I love that blue color. The yellow would probably be my second pick. The charcoal, I've had two of those. They are best described as like a chalkboard. They even mark up the same way as a chalkboard. It's kind of funny. But I've had one with the stock pickups as well as gold foil pickups. But the only finish I haven't seen in person is wine red. But I'll probably grab one of those for a review just so we can document every finish eventually. So besides the pickups and the finish option and the traditional choice of woods to make this up, what else is special about this? Well, you have these freaky speed knobs that Gibson used for a little bit. I don't think they currently still use these. I think this was kind of a one-off idea, and I don't think it really stuck, but some people love these. Compared to a normal speed knob, they're about a ½ centimeter taller. You can see the comparison pic here. But basically, these are styled off of like a 52 gold top speed knob. Those ones, if you don't know, they are kind of taller like this, but they took it a step further and they have these little grippers on them. So functionality-wise, yes, they do work pretty well. The extra grip definitely makes it easier to turn the knob, but it's not that hard to turn a regular speed knob anyways. They're kind of bulky looking, so I can understand why not everybody accepted these. Another feature is you have these giant strap buttons. I remember seeing these on the 2014 Derek Trucks SGs. I've had 500,000 of those things. I think they're nice because they're supposed to replace strap locks because they're so large, but you still might want the strap locks anyways. Another feature is just a straight wraparound tailpiece. You don't have a bridge tailpiece set up, so you're a little bit more limited of how you can set the intonation on these. You just adjust these screws right here, so you might not be able to get as perfect as on a traditional setup, but good enough is usually good enough with these. Furthermore, you have PCB electronics in this one. Now you can hate these things because, oh, that's modern technology, it doesn't sound as good. Or you can choose to embrace them because what is nice about it, if you have no soldering capabilities, you're not skilled in that area, and you don't like these P90-S pickups for whatever reason, they're quick connect. You can go buy yourself a set of regular P90s that are quick connect, plug and play, you're done. Very convenient. Heck, if you want, you could route this out for humbuckers or just have like a P90 in the neck and a humbucker in the bridge. That's always a nice combo like you can find on the BFGs. And just as a bit of a pro tip here, if you hate that the truss rod cover says Melody Maker because this guitar, it deserves a higher title, it really does, this'll come off really easily. Just scrub it a little bit. Yes, it's true. It's easy to wipe that off. That happened to most of my other Melody Makers, sometimes by accident, sometimes on purpose, but you can get a blank truss rod cover on these fairly easily. And lastly, these come stock with Kluson Deluxe tuners. They have those little buttons on them. It's a very vintage style looking tuner. This one has been upgraded to locking Grovers, which is awesome. And the last thing to go over here is either a love it or leave it type thing. The 12th fret inlay is the 120th anniversary banner. This was on pretty much every single 2014 Gibson, so it's not really special, but hey, it's there. So overall, I highly recommend these things. You can pick these up used anywhere, usually from at the very low end of $350. That's kind of rare to find them that cheap. Usually you'll have to pay between $450 to $500 to take one of these home nowadays. But they are worth every penny of $500. They're excellent playing. I cannot give this model enough praise. So now that we've learned a little bit more about the 2014 Gibson Melody Maker, let's go ahead and hear how this one sounds. Now that we know how this guitar sounds, let's go ahead and review its condition. Face of the headstock, you're in pretty good shape here. You've got some light scratches and whatnot. And due to the satin finish, just if I touch the guitar like this for a while, you'll see the fingerprint. It's just kind of how these guitars are. It's a very thin satin finish. This one still has the Melody Maker writing on it, and the truss rod is perfectly adjustable, doesn't look like it's ever been touched. Just as full disclosure, if you look really closely here, you can see what looks like a crack. What that is where the holly veneer was put on, and it's showing where that begins and ends. So there are no breaks, cracks, or repairs to this example, and you still have the original nut. The frets show very minor wear, hardly any at all. I just oiled the fretboard, so you are good to go there. You've got a little bit of fret buzz here and there. I mean, it's definitely not a high-end Gibson by any means, but it plays and sounds so great. It won't give you your traditional Les Paul sounds, but it's definitely a fun guitar. It will inspire you to play something different if you do own other Les Pauls or other guitars in general. Take a look at the body here now. What's nice about this finish is it doesn't show scratches a lot, but it is very thin, so it is easy to wear through this finish. That's mostly evident around the edges of these guitars because it rubs against you. But on the top, I would say this is the worst area of wear. You've kind of got an impression mark right there. Take a look around the sides. So you've got some finish wear along the edges. You'll find that on pretty much every example that has been played, but it is good to know about. So overall, I would say this is a clean player. Look at the back here. Not necessarily any buckle worming or rash, but you can see where the grain has kind of like absorbed the finish a little bit, so you can kind of see through to the mahogany in this area. But overall, nothing too bad. As we discussed earlier, the satin neck finish has been rubbed by someone's hand a lot, so it has become a gloss finish at this point. Which, honestly, even though I prefer a satin feeling neck, this one is really comfortable. It's not the sticky kind of gloss. It's like almost the opposite. It wants to make you fly up and down the neck. Back of the headstock, serial number 140089596, which makes it a 2014 model. You can see above each of these upgraded locking tuners is an additional screw hole from the original style tuners. You could fill them in, but they're not really doing any harm as of right now. So overall, I'd give it a solid 8 out of 10 condition. You've just got a few minor impressions and some light wear along the edges. Now we'll do a blacklight test. You can see everything's glowing on the face of the guitar just fine. Back is also looking good. Pretty much all this will show us is the small areas of wear on the finish. Nothing too much to note on this guitar though. And we'll look at the neck. The neck glows a little more once again because it's kind of absorbed some sweat into the finish, especially in that area, but no actual breaks, cracks, or repairs to be worried about. So everything is good on this example. These guitars came stock with gig bags. I went ahead and upgraded it to a hard shell case. I actually made a completely separate review simply for this case because I'm actually a pretty big fan of them. This is a really nice fitting case made by ChromaCast. To recap, you have 4 very nice functioning latches. That one even has a lock, and the other one is on the back here. And the interior of the case is very similar to like the Epiphone cases. These are made in China though, and they only have a single neck rest. The left and right fit and up and down fit is really good on these. The only thing that is not perfect on the fit is there's not enough padding right here on the lid to secure the guitar down. So I will have some extra bubble wrap in there to kind of eat up that extra space. You could also put it on the bottom of the guitar. If you think you might be interested in being the next owner of this 2014 Gibson Melody Maker, feel free to check out the link in the description that will take you to the Reverb for sale ad. Thank you for watching, Troglodytes. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And we will see you tomorrow on the next episode. Take care.